Most people know that Bradley Barcola is my absolute dream for a left winger, but in today's video, we're going to be discussing a lot of different options for that spot, what that spot needs to be for Chelsea, and how it'll improve the entire dynamism of the team. Right, let's talk about this wing spot for Chelsea, because this is what's going around in the media at the minute. Everybody, we're talking about these guys down here. We're talking about Garnacho, we're talking about Tel, we're talking about Gittins. I'm going to put two other people in the ring, and we're going to talk about them a little bit like in the striker and the centre-back video. We're going to have a little chat about the players, a little chat about what's needed from these roles out wide, why we're interested in these profiles, and so on and so forth, right? So, just to begin with, I'll give you the other two names because I think they're very unlikely, but I think they fit in with the types of profile, and like I say, we'll speak about why. The other two names, you've got Lookman, who is extremely unlikely, but he is a name that fits for what I'm about to talk about, and Semenyo, who again I think is unlikely. Haven't seen any links. 25, Bournemouth would probably want quite a large fee, so I don't think that's going to happen. But why those two along with these three players? Well, let's have a little look. In this left wing spot, at the minute, Chelsea are occupying with either Sancho or Neto, okay? Because Mudryk is out. The only other option that we've seen is Felix or Nkunku, but not even Nkunku so far. It's just been Felix. Starting in this left wing spot, coming into this half space zone, and allowing someone like Kukurea to fill in there, okay? Now, what we've started to see more is, like we say, one of Sancho or Neto lately. That's your more creative style winger, and that's fine, as long as Madueke is starting on the other side. Now, I want to start with saying, I think that with the wingers, I think you need a good balance of directness, ball security, also just the ability to know when to retain possession, when to sort of set up a counter pressing trap, sort of bring the ball forward, when to circulate, when to attack, that sort of creativity, but also that directness and shot volume, which is going to be a key word in this video. So I think when you have these pairings, Neto or Sancho on the left with Madueke on the right, I think what you have is a little bit of good balance, because here you have more create first, pass first players. A lot of their shot creating actions come from passes, come from through balls, come from key passes. Those little sort of clever maneuvers and crosses into the box. Madueke, whilst he has actually improved a lot on that outswinger this year, I think that's been one of his best weapons that's sort of been improved on this season. You know you're going to get shot volume from him. He's averaging a ridiculous amount of shots this season. And what I'll quickly do now is I'll cut and I'll speak about Sancho, Neto, and Madueke and their numbers and how they sort of line up. Jadon Sancho is averaging 1.27 shots per 90 with only 0.32 of those on target. He's only generating 0.1 xG per 90. Of his 4.0 shot creating actions per 90, 3.67 of them are coming from live ball passes, whereas 0.0 of them are coming from shots, which can tell you a lot about how he is creating shots for others. He's also averaging 6.33 penalty area touches per 90. But again, when he gets into those areas, he's looking to be tricky. He's looking to beat that extra man, slot one through the legs to somebody else and try and set somebody up rather than taking the shot on himself. Moving on to Pedro Neto, again, you have someone who takes 2 shots per 90 with 0.72 on target, only 0.09 xG per 90. Of his 4 shot creating actions per 90, 3 of those are live ball passes, and only 0.14 are coming from shots, so a little bit higher than Sancho, who had 0, but again, it's a low amount to be coming from shots. And again, he has 4.71 penalty area touches, even fewer than Sancho. But when we move on to Noni Madueke, he is taking 4.24 shots per 90 with 1.47 of those shots on target. That is a higher shot volume than Jadon Sancho and Pedro Neto put together. He's generating 0.45 xG per 90. His 3.85 shot creating actions per 90, so fewer than both Sancho and Pedro Neto, who we've sort of labelled as those creators. 2.57 of those are coming from live ball passes, but 0.34 are coming from shots per 90. Again, showing you he has more of that shot first tendency. And then again, importantly, he's got 8.72 penalty area touches per 90, showing his willingness to attack the back post, attack the box, and be direct. So that gives you an idea of how Madueke, Sancho, and Neto differ, and why I think that the key is actually having Madueke on the pitch. And a lot of people are frustrated because sometimes his decision-making can be quite poor. But that's where we're going to sort of get to, in the sense of, What you have with these two players is a little bit more aesthetically pleasing. They come out with a little bit, their decision making slightly better. They won't lose the ball as much because they will go backwards more often and little bits like that. But Madueke is direct. He gets Chelsea into this danger area, into the box. He gets shots off, which can cause chaos. If that shot rebounds, you've got Jackson, Palmer, who are two sort of relied on goal scorers right now, who can crash the box. So that's really important. It creates that chaos that Chelsea need. Now, the issue with this, like I say, Madueke, he's had issues this season. Sometimes he's a hard-working player, and I said this. I said Maresca would love him at the start of the season. He was one of my biggest winners for Maresca's appointment. I said that. But he can't play every game because his mentality clearly isn't there. Maresca's said it already as well. He's had an issue with his training and his workload and how he's been, sort of his attitude. Which means if you take Madueke out, what you then see is Neto on the right, Sancho on the left. In theory, fine, because Neto is better on the right and Sancho's good on the left. Sancho, in my opinion, probably been the best winger overall in terms of quality this season. But now what you're lacking is that shot volume and that chaos that you got, because you've got both your wingers who want to be a little bit more sort of slower, sturdier on the ball, circulate play, make these clever passes inside, put a few in-swingers into the box, and sometimes they'll go down the line and look to cross it in. But they want to combine, they want to come inside. They're very unlikely to just attack the box at pace and get a shot off to cause a little bit of havoc. And that's what I think Chelsea miss. And if you look at the games where Chelsea lost, and again, I'll quickly cut to it now to explain it. In these 4 games, Chelsea were only averaging around 12 shots per game. And again, the common consensus of this is that Pedro Neto and Sancho was the wing pairing. The only game where it wasn't was against Ipswich, but in that game there was a few other changes with Felix playing on the left and Kunku playing up front instead of Jackson. And again, overall, it was just one of those games. But it was no coincidence in these games that it was a lot more dragged out. Those players were a little bit too pass first, and there wasn't enough players taking that initiative to be direct, get shots off, and cause a little bit of chaos. So as you can see from those games, having Neto and Sancho, there was just a lack of shots in those games, and that it is as simple as that, because the balance just wasn't there, especially against low blocks where those shots, they can create little bits of chaos, like against Brentford. Just the volume of crosses and shots that we were putting into the box, we eventually found the breakthrough against a low block. That's what happens. So this is what brings us on to the new guys, okay? Let's say Neto's playing on the right, or let's just put, because he's going to be in next year, let's say Esteval's playing on the right, okay? Let's take Sancho and Neto out. Well, let's put Sancho there for now, right? Let's say Esteval's playing on the right, okay? And let's say, let's say we're in this formation, let's say this is Enzo, for example, in that sort of usual shape with the box in midfield, Palmer in the right half space, Enzo on the left half space. What you've got here with Palmer and Esteval, that's your creative outlets. They are going to be looking to create for each other. The rotations between them is going to mean that a lot of the play is going to be focused down that side. There'll probably be more touches in this side of the pitch due to it. And that's where your star power is. So on this side of the pitch, having someone like Sancho with Esteval, with Palmer, who are all pass first players, Esteval's really close to being a blend of both, because he's got the shot volume too, and he wants to drive a goal. Like, if any, he's shown he's got the capability to be a ridiculously good goal scoring winger as well. But as you've always also seen with him, he likes playing in that half space. He likes to create. He likes to sort of be the player who can pull men away with him as well. So when it comes to that, I do think you're going to get more touch volume on this side, more pass first play. For me, that means on this side of the pitch, you have to have an outlet. And that's where I understand the need for, if Sancho's not going to play and Neto was going to be the next one because Mudrik's not there, they both offer similar pass first tendency. Yes, Neto's quicker in transition. He offers you that. But what they don't offer is that similar sort of drive to get into the box, like we spoke about Madueke, that chaos to get shots off, the volume to attack this back post, this area, when the ball is over here. Because like I said, this is going to be a lot of Chelsea's play in here. And then you can imagine Casado, or you can imagine Reece. that sort of area of the pitch where there's a lot of circulation going on, a lot of quick movements and sort of interchanges. Once that ball goes into the box, and again, whether this is Jackson next season or whether we also address the fact that we desperately need a box striker, go check out my striker video if you haven't already, because we spoke about that in abundance in that video. If Jackson or said box striker isn't getting on the end of these crosses, which these two are going to get a ridiculous amount of crosses in from here, half in swingers, which are going to be really dangerous, arriving, guess where? The back post. So not only we have that box striker who can drag men away to the front post, and he can attack the front post, he can also be part of this to create havoc in here. There's going to be second balls dropping all over in here. Now, who made careers out of this? Sadio Mane in the Premier League. And as much as I don't look at his time fondly at Chelsea, you can't deny it. City, Raheem Sterling made a living out of this, okay? Attacking this zone and scoring easy goals. Garnacho has that. He has that tendency and that turn of thought to attack this space, okay? Now, I'm going to quickly go through with Garnacho the positives and negatives, okay? And just before we speak about the positives and negatives, just to show you the type of player Garnacho is, with the stats that we used earlier, 3.93 shots he's averaging this season per 90, with 1.53 of them on target, generating 0.41 XG per 90. He does have the lowest shot creating actions per 90 with 3.17, but 2.38 of them are coming from those live ball passes that we spoke about, with 0.3 of them coming from shots, much closer to that Madueke number in terms of shots being a more frequent creation tool, essentially. And lastly, he's having 7.62 penalty area touches, which ranks between Jadon Sancho and Noni Madueke. He's attacking that back post, which we're going to speak about, and that is one of the reasons that I do like him. What I've got written down from my tweet, and again, if Garnacho does sign, I'll go into far more detail and do a whole video dedicated just to him. But I've got instinctive, Garnacho's movement and knack for arriving in the box, as I said here, at the right time, the right pace, and to generate high XG chances for himself is superb. So again, to arrive on time so that the chance is optimal. It's not a half chance. It's becoming a very good chance to score a goal. Good XG chances for himself at that back post, or even just dropping into these areas, okay? Intensity. He's shown he has a willingness to press with intensity, counter press when loses the ball, track his runners, and I think working with Maresca will add to discipline within that. Again, I think that's perfect for Maresca. Direct, which sort of ties into his intensity, always keen to quickly attack defenders' feet, be direct towards the box and purposeful with his actions, like I said. Shot volume. So this season he's averaging 3.93 shots per 90 with 1.53 on target. Last season was 3.36 with 0.98 on target. Again, keeps defenders guessing because you're getting those shots off and you're forming that chaos. And then we spoke about this zone 13 activity. Now, this is where I'm going to say, if you haven't already watched it, go and watch the Tell video, because this is a massive point of why I want Tell, for the same reasons of his zone activity in here, his box activity in here, and that's why I want him on the left, okay? So go watch that video, because Tell is one of my absolute #1 picks for this spot. So go watch that. There's a whole video about him on the channel. I think it was this 2 videos ago. So I definitely would suggest you go and watch that, because again, the actions that he can produce in here with that curled finish, that ability to whip it in towards this back post with an in-swinger, those clipped passes, clever little combinations. This is a hot spot for those players, and that's what I think Chelsea also need, a sharp shooter from that zone. So that is important as well for me, a right footer in there. And that, of course, stems from the positions that these players will be taking up. It's that ability to arrive on the touchline, but then still drive inside, drive into the box and get shots off and create that danger and havoc that we keep going back to. Negatives, 1v1 dribbling concerns. I don't think he's necessarily got the explosion, stop-start burst of pace that he needs. So, again, we mentioned earlier Semenyo, even Lookman, when they get the ball and they slow it down in this area, because, again, for Chelsea, in the first phase of play, this winger will be receiving on the touchline, okay? When we say touchline winger, that's what it means for Maresca. When the build-up is taking place, that's when they have to provide this width, because the idea is then to stretch these fullbacks out, to stretch the midfielders, and to really create as much space inside as you can. Once you actually progress the ball further up the pitch and you've found your way through the lines, Then there is more license, as there was last year with Dewsbury Hall and Mavadidi at Leicester with Maresca's side. As you've seen at times, with some Chelsea play with Sancho coming into this zone at times. Again, not as frequent as you would like, but it's a thing. So, and again, I think this would be better with Cucurella in here, Enzo and Casado playing deeper, because I think Cucurella makes more selfless runs into here, and he also makes more selfless runs like sort of around here, so that Garnacho can, or whoever, drift into this sort of area inside in here, right? But when they do receive the ball, like I say, out in this touchline, the idea will be sometimes they'll receive it with their back to play. Can you receive the ball? Can you make the right decision? Come inside, go back to circulate. I have said at times, I think that with Garnacho, that his physicality can be disappointing, and against the touchline, especially with his back to play, he isn't great shaping up to complete an action. So I think at times we may get forced back if the ball is into Garnacho's feet and we're trying to build through this left side of the pitch. But again, he's 20. This is something you need to work on with him. And I also think he lacks the explosive start-stop that I said, because if he receives the ball in here and he's basically at a standstill speed, I think that's when he struggles to beat his man. His numbers for that are quite poor. So again, that's more about he's better receiving deep if without coverage, to say the fullback sort of sitting off a little bit, so that he can then get moving ahead of steam. And then once he's moving, his agility is then better. That's when he can chop inside and get away, because he's better moving at speed over a little bit of a larger distance. Decision making is very poor as well. Performs better on instinct than when he has time. So again, when he's through on goal, when we call him a goal scoring winger, I think, like I said, I think it's more about the box instincts, the movement, and the high XG sort of chances that he'll receive in these sort of areas, and that confidence to pull the trigger almost with the shot volume. What he doesn't do so well is if he has lots of time bearing down on goal. Again, his shot selection, pass selection, decision making in general can be poor. So that's an option. Okay. And I've just got at the bottom of the thing. Risk, if the price is around 60 million, which is being quoted, of course it's a risk. We know he needs refinement in quite a few areas. Very talented player, could genuinely go bang with how I think we could use him, like I've said in this video. But there's a massive risk attached. So that's what I've got written down for Garnacho. Now, Gittins is similar in the sense of he attacks this area really well. He's direct and he makes things happen. He loves to get that far shot curler off, like I said, that right-footed shot from this hot zone here. I think what makes Gittins better is he has that stop-start burst to beat his man on the outside as well as the inside. So that's sort of where I'm at with it. I think Garnacho and Gittins, I think they'd both work. Like I said, I think the price for Garnacho at 60 is steep. I do. Tell for me is, again, watch the video, because I say it a lot in that video. I think he makes a lot of sense. And in the same way that Semenyo and Lookman have the traits where they can do a bit of both. They can go on the outside, but they're a little bit better coming inside to provide that shot volume, directness, and havoc causing in those areas, attacking the back post. So I think that's important to sort of touch on. I've probably forgot quite a lot. I don't know if you can tell I'm feeling a little bit ill at the minute, so I've had to sort of go ahead and try and record this video whilst all the news is breaking. So sorry if I keep breathing heavy or anything like that. But I think we're going to end it there. But as I said, if there is a solid link, so not link, but if Garnacho gets confirmed, we'll do a sole video about Garnacho and how that will work, even though a lot of this video is talking about Garnacho. So I hope you've enjoyed that. But again, I've mentioned a few other names and why they could work, the Esteval effect of that, and just the dynamic between the wingers. So let me know what you guys think. Let me know which winger you would prefer Chelsea to sign, and ask me any questions you want. I'll try to get back to them in the comments. See you guys in the next video. Drop a like, subscribe if you haven't already, and I'll see you guys later.